Enneagram Shorts Type 9. And you've been asking for 9. And it's funny because I, for a while there, I felt like I did all sorts of videos and articles about 9s. I go through these trends where I'll have a boatload of 9s in my practice or in classes. And then I'll go through kind of a dry spell with 9s. So I know I was writing a ton about 9s for a while. And so 9s is part of the body center. This is the feeling triad. And I know a lot of people think that, the heart types are the feeling triad. The body types actually feel these strong feelings inside. Heart types, a lot of times, are feeling other people's feelings. For the body types, there's a strong feelings inside. And I remember when I was studying the body types, I said to my 9 husband, I said, do you walk into a room and have an instinctual sense of things? And he said, where you almost feel the room out when you walk in. Like, do you like it? Do you don't like it? Is it hot? Is it cold? Or is it warm? Is it friendly? And he said, yeah, doesn't everybody? And I said, no, head types are sitting here looking at all the data, trying to figure out. Heart types are trying to connect. Body types get that strong instinctual feel. Like all body types, what happens is initial impressions can get stuck almost in the body. And so for the 9s, it shows up like this. I have to feel, there's a desire to feel comfortable. And so I have to avoid conflict, and I have to feel comfortable and blend with the world outside of me in order to have a sense of love and belonging. So it can be a very accepting personality, particularly on the outside, very calm and accepting on the outside. That doesn't always mean that's what's going on the inside. A lot of 9s will tell me, I'm actually kind of anxious on the inside. Everybody tells me they feel really calm and comfortable in my presence, and that's not how I always feel on the inside. But what's happening is love and belonging, or so they believe, is earned by blending with other people's agendas. I have to kind of go along to get along. So I'm going to focus my attention on, and it's not like I go do something like the 2 is going to do. It's actually, I'm going to almost be it. I'm going to be, what you want is kind of what I want too. What you need, that's kind of what I need too, because the 9s are picking it up almost in their body. And when you talk about environmental distractions, 9s can get really almost merged with the job that they're doing, and or merged particularly out in nature. I find a lot of 9s really respond to nature, where they can have that real sense of oneness and wholeness within nature. But what happens is there's a certain inner self-forgetting, sometimes called sloth. And most 9s hate that word, so if you're a 9 and you hate that word, you're in good company. But it's a sloth towards themselves, towards their own priorities. So don't think that just because someone likes to sleep, they're a 9. That because you want to sleep, that you must be a 9. That's a behavior. I see a lot of 9s who are very, very active, particularly if we look at subtypes or social, the subtype instincts. There's 3 instincts of every Enneagram type. The social 9 tends to look very active and tends to look a lot like a 3. So don't go with behaviors. But the challenge is that they forget what they want. They lose sight of what they want. And it's literally almost like a blind spot in the brain. It almost feels like a fog. When you ask a 9 what you want, it's all what they want. It's almost like a fog starts to set in. So there's a certain ambivalence that arises, a self-deprecation that arises. And what can happen, though, is if you are a big energy and you start taking over, they can feel like you're taking up too much space. 9s are the ones usually telling me, getting annoyed by someone on Facebook or Instagram or social media who takes up a lot of room. And it's because it's kind of their shadow self that I don't fully show up in myself. And so you get back there, right? Because you're taking up too much room. And so they have a real eye for somebody who takes a disproportionate amount of space up in the environment. So remember, every Enneagram type has an idealization, avoidance, and defense mechanism. The idealization for 9 is, I am peaceful, I'm comfortable. The avoidance is conflict and discomfort. And that defense mechanism that is the gatekeeper that holds it together is called narcotization, and it's numbing out. So when anger, conflict, or discomfort arises in the field, the 9 all of a sudden starts noticing they're kind of tired, Okay, and they can feel their energy start to go down and they get a little bit sleepy. Or they might use something like food. Maybe I'll just go get something to eat, to drink. They tend to, kind of gulp in the drink, gulp in food, and just take it on in a way of numbing it out. Exercise can be a way of numbing out. Becoming like a marathon runner it could be a 9 because it's a way of numbing, and it could be a way of making you come more alive. It's like how conscious am and present am I in my own situation. It's kind of like I'll deal with this later. Time for ice cream, time for a movie, and hey, I'm going to go check Facebook and my Instagram feed. So that's narcotization. So this causes them to leave the present moment. This focus on the environment and in essentials causes them to leave the present moment. So if you're a 9, what's the practice for you? Well, it's making yourself important, setting boundaries, setting limits on what you want. And I have a little clue for you. I'm married to a 9. My daughter's a 9. And what I learned is to say, not where do you want to go for dinner, but where don't you want to go? Because I kid you not, the first year of my marriage, our biggest conflict was, what are we going to do? Because my husband would say, oh, I don't care. And then I would say something, be like, no, I don't want to do that. So I learned to say, what don't you want to do? What don't you want? 9s are a little clearer on what they don't want. Remember, this is a body type. It's a struggling against life. So sometimes you can start with, knowing what you want, starting with what you don't want. But also love yourself as well as other people. And that's not just doesn't happen in the head. It happens with the way perhaps you talk about yourself, with the way how much you show up in a conversation. If you're constantly self-deprecating and constantly devaluing yourself, you don't show up in a conversation and then you're ticked off because someone else talked too much when you were the one who kind of set it up that way. So notice that. Notice how you set it up to be ignored. All right? And also notice that when you do say something, it might sound like this in your own experience. Okay? And because you tend to amplify your own voice in that field, it can almost feel very quickly for you like it's too much. Also accept that discomfort is part of life. Pain is a part of life. Conflict is a part of life. And have you ever noticed that after a difficult conversation, it does drain you and something new might emerge in the relationship? You may take action that you were avoiding. Perhaps if you're at work and you realize you have to let a couple of people go. Or you have to have that hard conversation with one of your kids. And it feels really crappy to you, really low energy. You might find yourself tired afterwards. And then notice what gets birthed with time. Because conflict is important. Also notice that there's a way that you're not aware of your anger. And so sometimes when you do say something to people, it can come out really harsh. And sometimes you can almost overdo it in order to set the boundary, like cut someone off. There can be a way that you say something too harshly and it can be very hurtful to other people. Be aware of that as well, because it takes you so much energy to get there. If you're in relationship with a 9, when they say no, it doesn't always mean they mean yes. It just means no. And yes doesn't always mean it's what they want. So get curious, draw out their preference, and wait. They don't know, so ask and say, hey, can you let me know? Can you noodle about it for a while? Because they're going to want to say what you want to hear so that they can stay in connection and stay comfortable. And it doesn't mean it's what they want, but your wants and needs are so much louder and more significant than their own. So getting to where they want is almost like a process of elimination, and you can support them in that. Notice simple things they like and participate with them. That's one of the things that I've really noticed with my husband, is just take a walk. You don't even have to say much. They kind of almost have a real sensitivity in the body, touch, and it can also be a thing of like in the airport, like get off of me. But with somebody they care about, just a gentle walking, not overly wrought. Not overly, oh, you mean so much. 9s always say, I don't need that much. I just need a little. Okay, so doing something with them that they enjoy. And under pressure, expect them to retreat into the routine mechanics. Okay? They're going to go on autopilot. They forget themselves in that familiar routine. And once what they want surfaces, it needs a clear way to succeed, and you can support them in that. Because I tell you what, you start coming in with what you want in your agenda, they will background theirs so fast it'll make your head spin. So you can support your 9 in that way and express a simple appreciation. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but they need to know. They need us to notice they matter. So that's 9s, Enneagram Shorts. Feel free if you're a 9 to add something below. Remember, there's other human beings reading it. So, sometimes on social media we can dehumanize people, objectify people. Every 9 isn't the ex-husband or the dad you didn't get along with. There's other people out there really doing their work. So as you post your experience of yourself, if you are a 9, or experience of others as a 9, be kind. Thank you.